I am young, I am 20 years old, yet I know nothing of life but despair, death, fear, and fatuous superficiality cast over an abyss of sorrow. I see how peoples are set against one another, and in silence, unknowingly, foolishly, obediently, innocently slay one another. It's only terrible to have nothing to wait for. Life did not intend to make us perfect. Whoever is perfect belongs in a museum. We are not youth any longer. We don't want to take the world by storm. We are fleeing. We fly from ourselves, from our life. We were 18 and had begun to love life and the world, and we had to shoot it to pieces. It is very queer that the unhappiness of the world is so often brought on by small men. We are forlorn like children and experienced like old men. We are crude and sorrowful and superficial. I believe we are lost. We were all at once terribly alone, and alone we must see it through. I did not want to think so much about her. I wanted to take her as an unexpected, delightful gift that had come and would go again, nothing more. I meant not to give room to the thought that it could ever be more. I knew too well that all love has the desire for eternity, and that therein lies its eternal torment. Nothing lasts. Nothing. This book is to be neither an accusation nor a confession, and least of all an adventure, for death is not an adventure to those who stand face to face with it. It will try simply to tell of a generation of men who, even though they may have escaped shells, were destroyed by the war. Strange how complicated we can make things just to avoid showing what we feel. Keep things at arm's length. If you let anything come too near, you want to hold on to it. And there is nothing a man can hold on to. Life is a disease, brother, and death begins already at birth. Every breath, every heartbeat, is a moment of dying, a little shove toward the end. How senseless is everything that can ever be written, done, or thought, when such things are possible. It must be all lies and of no account when the culture of 1,000 years could not prevent this stream of blood being poured out, these torture chambers in their hundreds of thousands. A hospital alone shows what war is. We have so much to say, and we shall never say it. You may turn into an archangel, a fool, or a criminal. No one will see it. But when a button is missing, everyone sees that. He fell in October 1918, on a day that was so quiet and still on the whole front, that the Army report confined itself to the single sentence, "All quiet on the Western Front." He had fallen forward and lay on the earth as though sleeping. Turning him over, one saw that he could not have suffered long. His face had an expression of calm, as though almost glad the end had come. I wandered through the streets thinking of all the things I might have said and might have done had I been other than I was. That is the remarkable thing about drinking. It brings people together so quickly, but between night and morning it sets an interval again of years. We are little flames poorly sheltered by frail walls against the storm of dissolution and madness, in which we flicker and sometimes almost go out. We creep in upon ourselves and with big eyes stare into the night, and thus we wait for morning. We came to realize, first with astonishment, then bitterness, and finally with indifference, that intellect apparently wasn't the most important thing. Not ideas, but the system. Not freedom, but drill. We had joined up with enthusiasm and with goodwill, but they did everything to knock that out of us. Why does a man live? In order to think about it. To forget is the secret of eternal youth. One grows old only through memory. There's much too little forgetting. We were 18 and had begun to love life and the world, and we had to shoot it to pieces. The first bomb, the first explosion, burst in our hearts. We are cut off from activity, from striving, from progress. We believe in such things no longer. We believe in the war. Why do they never tell us that you are poor devils like us, that your mothers are just as anxious as ours, and that we have the same fear of death, and the same dying, and the same agony? Forgive me, comrade. How could you be my enemy? Sometimes I used to think that one day I should wake up, and all that had been would be over. Forgotten, sunk, drowned. Nothing was sure, not even memory. Modesty and conscientiousness receive their reward only in novels. In life they are exploited and then shoved aside. Bombardment, barrage, curtain fire, mines, gas, tanks, machine guns, hand grenades, words, but they hold the horror of the world. Never do anything complicated when something simple will serve as well. It's one of the most important secrets of living. It was a melancholy secret that reality can arouse desires, but never satisfy them. We're no longer young men. We've lost any desire to conquer the world. We are refugees. We are fleeing from ourselves, from our lives. We were 18 years old, and we had just begun to love the world and to love being in it, but we had to shoot at it. The first shell to land went straight for our hearts. We've been cut off from real action, from getting on, from progress. We don't believe in those things anymore. We believe in the war. I want to think, and at the same time that's the last thing in the world I want to do. They are more to me than life. These voices, they are more than motherliness, and more than fear. They are the strongest, most comforting thing there is anywhere. They are the voices of my comrades. At school, nobody ever taught us how to light a cigarette in a storm of rain, nor how a fire could be made with wet wood, nor that it is best to stick a bayonet in the belly because there it doesn't get jammed, as it does in the ribs. Our knowledge of life is limited to death. Anything you can settle with money is cheap. With blinded eyes I stared at the sky, this gray, endless sky of a crazy God who had made life and death for his amusement. Everyone saves someone at least once, just as he kills someone at least once, even though he may not know it. It's no shame to be born stupid, only to die stupid. Come, let me kiss you. Life was never so precious as today, when it meant so little. No soldier outlives 1,000 chances, but every soldier believes in chance and trusts his luck. It is too dangerous for me to put these things into words. I am afraid they might then become gigantic, and I be no longer able to master them. What comfort there is in the skin of someone you love. It's all rot that they put in the war news about the good humor of the troops, how they are arranging dances almost before they are out of the front line. We don't act like that because we are in a good humor. We are in a good humor because otherwise we should go to pieces. Good or ill, life is life. You only realize that when you have to risk it. For a moment I had a strange intuition that just this, and in a real profound sense, is life, and perhaps happiness even. Love with a mixture of sadness, reverence, and silent knowledge. You take it from me. We are losing the war because we can salute too well. I am a modern man with a strong tendency to self-destruction. I don't want to get old. You won't get old. Life will pass over your face, that will be all. And it will become more beautiful. One is old only when one no longer feels. No, when one no longer loves. The things men did or felt they had to do. Kaczynski says, it is all to do with education. It softens the brain. Sweet dreams, though the guns are booming. But probably that's the way of the world. When we have finally learned something, we're too old to apply it. And so it goes, wave after wave, generation after generation. No one learns anything at all from anyone else. I am no longer a shuddering speck of existence, alone in the darkness. I belong to them, and they to me. We all share the same fear and the same life. I could bury my face in them, in these voices, these words that have saved me, and will stand by me. I've not much interest in the important things of life, only in the beautiful things. Just this lilac here makes me happy. Someone said to me once that a cigarette at the right moment is better than all the ideals in the world. Our thoughts are clay. They are molded with the changes of the days. When we are resting, they are good. Under fire, they are dead. Fields of craters within and without. It's not much. You begin by thinking there is something extraordinary about it. But you'll find out, when you've been out in the world a while longer, unhappiness is the commonest thing there is. The best way to lose a woman was to show her a kind of life that one could offer her for only a few days. Someday perhaps our time will be known as the Age of Irony. Not the witty irony of the 18th century, but the stupid or malignant irony of a crude age of technological progress and cultural regression. Love should not be polluted with friendship. I felt the first soft glow of intoxication that makes the blood warmer and spreads an illusion of adventure over uncertainty. Then when I am sad and understand nothing anymore, I say to myself that it's better to die while you still want to live than to die and want to die. But that's what mankind is like. They only prize what they no longer possess. For us lads of 18, they ought to have been mediators and guides to the world of maturity, the world of work, of duty, of culture, of progress, to the future. We were 18 and had begun to love life and the world, and we had to shoot it to pieces. The idea of authority, which they represented, was associated in our minds with a greater insight and a more humane wisdom. Light doesn't shine in the light. It shines in the dark.